Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohd Atif bin Mohd Yaziz. I'm taking course of BET Electronics and student from UniKL BMI. Okay. Right now, I'm trying to present about writing the conclusion, which is the chapter 5 when we're trying to make our research paper. Okay, basically, so let's proceed to the next slide. If you want to know about more, the conclusion is about. Basically, the conclusion is the last yet not the easiest part of our research paper. It must be summarized the whole paper and explain its main purpose. This section also shouldn't sound too dry, means that any conclusion consists of a few elements, so we can choose different approaches depending on our own agenda and the paper type. There were some useful tips on what to do in order to make our conclusion more effective. Okay, so we can see right now is here we got 3 points. The first one, the conclusion, is where we need to sum up the main point of the report. And then the second one, it should be related to the adjectives that have been listed down on our chapter 1, which is the introduction, and then the results of your research. Make sure two things that we have been explained on our research paper, we have made to relate each other to make sure that our research can be achieved. And then the last point, the purpose is to tie together various issues covered in your research and draw logical deductions based on the research findings. Okay, then let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, what to include in conclusion? First, overview of the study. Second one, a restatement of the objectives. Third one, example of phrases to use when reviewing or summarizing our findings. The fourth one, example of phrases to use when reviewing or summarizing our findings. And then the last one, limitations of the research. Okay, then let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, the first one, overview of the study. We can use these phrases of the our expression in our conclusion to make sure that our conclusion become more effective or become more clearer. Okay, basically overview of the study is an effective way to start your conclusion is to give by giving a brief summary of what the research is all about. That is the why and how you conduct the study in a nutshell. So this a few examples that we might want to use in our conclusion to make sure that we can strengthen our point of what research we are doing right now. Okay, this study research give an account of and the reasons, what's great use of this study research and etc. Okay, the next thing is restatement of the objectives. Okay, to avoid this, you can use introductory phrases at the beginning of the sentences, such as, okay, here we can see the example. When you restrict the adjective, basically, you have to start with the most significant ones. Why you have make the research is all about. It should not be the same as the way they are stated in the introduction of your reports. And then this might be easier to conclude of what you want to deliver to the readers, but yet it is the most important to make sure that it become more clearer. Okay, the third thing that you might want to focus on is review of the findings. Okay, review of the findings is basically the state whether objectives of your research have been achieved and whether they are also you have been expected. Okay, you can start with the most important one and proceed to the less important one, and then you can also use another alternative by reviewing only the most positive result that you have obtained to make sure that your research can be seen be a quality one, and then make the readers more understandable what you want to deliver to them. Okay, example of phrases you might to use to summarize your findings is basically the first one is this study shows that the findings of this study suggests in general one of the significant findings emerges from this study that the study and etc. You might use this kind of phrases to make sure that it becomes clearer. Okay, then let's proceed to the next point. Implications of the findings. Implications must include example of language expressions to suggest implications are at here we got 4 examples that we can to include our conclusion. The results of the study indicates that the results of the study support the idea that overall the findings of the study suggest that in general it seems that. After you have stated your conclusion, you need to move on to discuss the implications of your findings, which is the finding you already explained on the chapter 4. Okay, it is important for you to discuss the implication because they will be the basis for you to make recommendations of what causes of action to be taken to be solved, and then to solve the identified problems. It really important to make sure that the research you have been through is basically is the thing that you might want to focus on and might want you to achieve for the speakers to understand well. Okay, the last point is limitation of the research. Limitations are the weakness that you have identified in your study. Okay, what the problems that you might not get can go through when you try to further your research. Because for example, if you're a student, you might have some problems or might have obstacle that you can't pass through because you just a student, you can't go have any you do not have any past because you only have a limited resource to get some new ideas or get to try to deepen your research. Okay, for example, small sample size, inappropriate research instruments used in your lab. So that is one of the thing that make you hard to further your research. Okay, here is the example that you might want to make sure that to be specifically more clearer of what you want to deliver. However, these findings are only true for IIUM students and cannot be generalized to other university students. The same study needs to be conducted with students from other universities to see if there are any similarities with the factors that will influence students' choice in selecting handphone, service provider, brand and peripherals. So we just student, we can't further our research with the other university student. They in this statement, they can only make a research within among their IIUM students only. Okay, to make sure the conclusion more effective, the first one, restate your topic. Second one, restate your thesis statement. The third one, summarize main points of your paper. The fourth one, discuss the significance of 4 your points. The last but not least, discuss the future of your projects. Okay, then let's proceed to the first point. Restate your topic. Conclusion is concise and clear. Basically, restate your topic briefly and explain why it's important. Make sure that this part of the conclusion is concise and clear. You have already explained why your arguments are important in a body part of your paper, and you also don't need to support your ideas with new arguments. Usually, the restate topic only consists of 1 sentence long, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, the second one, restate your thesis statement. Once you restarted the topic of the research, you have to restate your thesis statement. Make sure to rewrite it because it shouldn't sound exactly like in the introduction. It must be narrowed and focus on your topic. Okay, the third one, summarize main points of your paper. The key points is included on the conclusion, means that remind your readers with your key points. We suggest to rereading the whole body for your paper, focusing on the most important arguments and facts. Don't repeat your ideas in the exact same way as in the body. This time, you don't need to support each statement. Just provide a brief overview of the key points and make sure that you don't add any new ideas or details in the conclusion. Okay, and then the fourth one, discuss the significance of your points. Note that it must be unnecessary for most papers. However, in some cases, you need to address the importance of your points in a section of the conclusion. Okay, we note that you don't have to do it in case you have already considered it in the question of your paper. I suggest that explaining the most important of your arguments in the body part, because the conclusion is aimed only to summarize everything written before and to draw your reader's attention to your topic in a more general content. Most often you will need to just restate your topic and thesis statement. Last but not least, discuss the future of your subject. The first point, you must address the future perspective of your research and consider issue. Do not need to write it in literally research. You must be narrow of what you want to focus on, and then address some important current issues to strengthen your research ideas. Okay, basic things to strengthen your conclusion. Basic synthesis. Keep things together. Logic is important, and last, ask readers to draw their own conclusion. Okay, here we come to the last slide. What is a recommendation? Recommendation should be written in order of importance. Here is an example of recommendation is shown below. Since this study has focused on IUM students, it is recommended that further study be carried out on students from other universities to see whether there are any similarities in the findings. Furthermore, further research could also explore the different types of promotional strategies used by the service providers to attract customers and the effectiveness of these strategies. Lastly, although handphone is necessary, it might be a good idea to investigate the effects of using handphone on pupil health so that the public will be more aware of the results of using it. So we can see here, the student included, it is recommended that further study be carried out on students from other universities. So we can hear recommendation is applied in his or her research paper. Basically, before I forgot, recommendation, not all reports require recommendations, and sometimes it is included in the conclusion section. It should be related to the conclusion of your study and should not include any new facts or ideas. Do not present recommendation based on your beliefs or biases that are not supported by your idea. That's all from me. Thank you.